It was supposed to be a chill Sunday brunch, mimosas, pancakes, fake smiles. You know, the usual pretend we're a normal family routine. Grandpa sat across the table, grinning like he just cracked the world's nicest joke. Then he said it. My girl, I'm so glad you're enjoying the apartment I got you. The air straight up died. Forks froze. My sip of orange juice turned to acid halfway down my throat. Mom blinked like she misheard. My sister's thumbs stopped mid-scroll. And Dad? Dude dropped his fork. The clink on the plate was louder than my heartbeat. I stared at Grandpa, hands gripping the napkin like a lifeline. I live in a basement, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He frowned. What? I said, I never got an apartment. I said it louder this time. Calm. Cold. I wasn't gonna cry. Not in front of them. The whole table went quiet, thick, choking silence. I could practically hear the tension buzzing in the air. Mom's hand trembled around her coffee cup. Dad cleared his throat like he could swallow the guilt. I wired the down payment to your dad 4 years ago, Grandpa said slowly. He told me he surprised you with it after graduation. My chest went tight. My heartbeat slammed behind my eyes. I looked right at Dad. You meant to keep it, didn't you? His jaw twitched. He didn't say a damn thing. And in that second, I knew this wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a theft. A betrayal wrapped in family dinners and fake hugs. So I stood up. Since we're celebrating birthdays, I said, maybe it's time we stop pretending. And I walked out. The hallway outside the restaurant felt like a tunnel. My pulse was still loud in my ears when I heard his voice behind me. Kayla, wait. Grandpa's footsteps were quick but shaky. I turned, expecting confusion, maybe anger. But what I saw instead broke me a little, sorrow. Real, heavy sorrow. You seriously never got the apartment? He asked, voice cracking. I shook my head. Basement. Next to a boiler. Rent paid in cash to a woman who smokes through walls. He blinked like he'd been slapped. Your father said you didn't want help. That you were being independent. A bitter laugh left my throat. He told me to flip burgers first. Said it builds character. Grandpa's eyes darkened. He told me you were ungrateful. That you'd moved into your dream place and never said thank you. I stared at him. Didn't know there was anything to thank him for. For a long second, we just stood there, two people finally seeing the same lie. Then Grandpa said, I want to fix this. How? I asked. I want to see where you live. My head snapped up. Why? Because if it's as bad as you say, then he stole from both of us. And I'm done being lied to. That night, I drove him to my place. The bulb flickered as we walked in. The smell of old smoke hit first. Welcome to my palace, I said flatly. Grandpa looked around, the stained ceiling, the sagging couch, the mattress by the laundry machine. Then he sat down and whispered, tomorrow. We're going to the bank. And then your dad and I are gonna have a real talk. Sunday morning. Grandpa was already on the phone when I woke up, voice cold as steel. Howard, find the paperwork. Every transfer, every cent. I don't care if it's Sunday. I stood in the hallway, barefoot on cold concrete, listening. Something inside me felt lighter. Seen. By noon, we were sitting in a wood-paneled office downtown. The banker, prim, polite, probably terrified, clicked through records. There's the transfer, she said. 70,000. Marked as a gift for Kayla's condo. Then another click. Another screen. My stomach dropped. 5 days later, the whole amount had been moved again. To a private investment account under Dad's name. No mention of me. Not even a note. Grandpa's jaw clenched. Can I get printed copies of all that? When the banker left, he turned to me. His voice was low, almost trembling. This isn't family drama. This is theft. I nodded. Don't worry, he said. I met his eyes. No, Grandpa. We'll handle it. We drove straight to my parents' house, a place that used to feel like home until it didn't. Dad opened the door, confusion painted on his face. When he saw Grandpa behind me, that confusion turned to fear. We need to talk, Grandpa said. I'm kind of busy, Dad mumbled. Sit down. Grandpa didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The power was in his tone. Mom hovered by the kitchen. My sister peeked down from the stairs, phone ready like this was drama worth recording. We all sat. Grandpa dropped a thick folder on the coffee table, the printed proof. You told me Kayla was living in that apartment I bought her, Grandpa said. You lied. You took the money. Dad chuckled nervously. Come on, Dad. You're blowing this. She's been living in a basement. Grandpa snapped. Working 2 jobs while you padded your investments. I was holding it for her future. Don't. My voice cut through the room like glass. You don't get to lie again. The silence after that was suffocating. Grandpa leaned forward. You're paying back every cent. And at the next family brunch, you're going to tell everyone exactly what you did. Dad's face went white. For once, he had nothing to say. You'll move in with me, Grandpa said as we walked out. You're done living like that. I nodded, but inside, something burned brighter than relief. It was resolve. The following week, Grandpa called his lawyer. Papers were filed. Accounts frozen. Trusts rewritten. Dad's name wiped off everything that wasn't earned. Mom called once, crying. I didn't pick up. Sunday came again, same restaurant, same brunch table, but this time I wasn't at the far end anymore. I sat right beside Grandpa at the head. When Dad walked in, the whole room tensed. He looked wrecked. Grandpa stood up before anyone could fake a smile. I invited everyone because last week I learned the truth, he began. For years ago, I sent money to help Kayla start her life. I was told she received it. That was a lie. Every head turned. Whispers spread. Dad's hands twitched under the table. You stole it, Grandpa said, pointing straight at him. And from this moment on, you'll never touch another dollar from me. Then he laid a folded paper on the table. Read it. Dad looked like he'd rather die, but he read every word, a written confession. The room went dead quiet. For the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt seen. Powerful. After that day, Dad repaid every cent. Not out of guilt, out of fear. He avoided me like a ghost. Fine by me. His silence was the apology I'd been owed for years. Grandpa kept his word. He found me a real place downtown. Hardwood floors, big windows, actual sunlight. The first morning there, I sat on my bed and realized this was what peace felt like. No pipes clinking. No smoke in the air. Just quiet. I opened my laptop, dusted off an old folder labeled designs. Sketches, layouts, color boards, dreams I'd buried under bills and survival. Dad once called it cute. Said I should get serious. Well, guess what, Dad? I got serious. I built a portfolio, applied to studios, and launched a freelance site. Grandpa checked in every day, sometimes pretending he didn't cry when I told him I had interviews lined up. A few months later, I got the call. A local architecture firm had seen my work online. They were building community housing, wanted someone who knew how to make the most out of small spaces. I've lived that, I said. When I walked into that office, I wore my old beige coat, the one Mom once called childish. The creative director smiled, asked questions, and by the end of the meeting, handed me a contract. Not pity. Not charity. A job. Proof that I was never the failure they painted me to be. That basement didn't define me. It fueled me. 6 months later, it was my turn to host brunch. Not in a restaurant. In my place. Real plates. Real food. Real sunlight bouncing off my windows. Grandpa showed up with flowers. My cousin, who once rolled her eyes at my art, asked me about color palettes. Mom came too, quiet, awkward, but she came. Dad didn't. Good. His absence was the first peaceful gift he'd ever given me. During brunch, Grandpa leaned over and whispered, "You know, I imagined this years ago." I smiled. Me too. We clinked glasses, no fake smiles this time. Just pride. The family had changed since that day at the restaurant. People whispered less, listened more. I wasn't the black sheep anymore. I was the warning. And Dad? He stayed gone. He'd repaid the money, but the damage was permanent. Some bridges don't burn, they explode. That night, I stood by the window, city lights glowing below me. For years ago, I was eating dinner on a basement floor. Now, I was designing homes for people who needed second chances. Revenge didn't look like yelling or getting even. It looked like standing tall in your own light while they choke on their shadows. Grandpa once said, "You deserve more." He was wrong, I earned more. And as I looked out over the skyline, one thought hit me like sunrise. He took my foundation, but I built my empire anyway.